Hi, it's been a while. We took a long, unannounced break, and we're back now.
Yes, indeed. We took a long, unexpected break because I started a new job basically, and I needed to dedicate most of my time and commitment to that. Um, but I have some free time now, and we're back. And today we're going to discuss the tour of the summer. Everyone's been talking about it, it's all over social media. There's a lot of controversy surrounding the tour with Ticketmaster and Live Nation, Taylor Swift Eras Tour.
Yeah, totally. Taylor's Eras Tour has been going on for a little over a month now. It first started on St. Patrick's Day, which is March 17th,
Yeah.
in Glendale, Arizona. And that's the same stadium that Rihanna performed the halftime show for the Super Bowl.
Oh,
So, like,
really? I didn't know that.
Arizona, yeah. Yeah, Arizona's having its moment this year, apparently.
Ah, I see.
Major performances. So, but yeah, Taylor's tour is doing really well. I mean, I think everyone heard about when tickets first went on sale and how the whole disaster with Ticketmaster. We've talked about it before on this podcast. It just is a huge mess. The tour is completely sold out. It's a stadium tour, and it's on track to be the biggest selling tour of all time at this point. When she finishes the North America leg, she hasn't
Hmm.
announced international locations or dates at all yet, but they're already saying that like it's expected that she will, and they're saying that when she finishes her North America portion, which is just in the United States so far, that she's on track to make $1.5 billion, and that will be beating Elton John's farewell tour.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I don't know like how much of that is like actual profit for Taylor or whatnot, but like even if it's just 10%, like that is a massive amount of money. Um, yeah. But yeah, it's getting a ton of press, obviously, like you said, like it's all over social media. So many people are going to it, so many people are talking about it. It's getting a lot of great press, and it's getting press in like some kind of odd areas. I
Hmm.
know my partner works in finance, and like they got a like email about the tour, and it was just so odd because it just
Oh, that's
made no
funny.
sense for it. That's just to say like press is everywhere.
I mean, yeah, from a business standpoint, this tour is a big deal. So I think not only is it being talked about amongst music fans, I think even like business people are probably
Hmm.
fascinated with just, the model and how it's, being done from a business standpoint. So it makes sense that your partner got an email.
For sure. I mean, like wherever there's huge profits like this, wherever there's like massive money being made, there's going to be interest from a business perspective. So yeah, it's just this tour is getting so much buzz in just like every way possible, it seems.
Yeah, so a lot of music fans are talking about this. A lot of business people are talking about this, and amidst all of the tour talk, there's also been some drama happening. We basically recently found out that Taylor Swift and her partner broke up. Now, I personally don't know much about their relationship because I'm more of a casual fan of Taylor Swift. Um, but when the news hit, you and I started talking about it a lot because we had some thoughts about the tour that we're gonna get into in a bit. But we just wanted to see like if there are like Easter eggs that we can find in her show that could maybe be, related to the breakup. We also noticed Taylor didn't seem like she was in a great mood, so we're just trying to like figure out the timeline. What did you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, so I don't know a ton about their relationship either. It seems no one really does because that's kind of been a big part of their relationship. They've been together for 6 years, and Taylor credits a lot of the longevity of the relationship, like the quality of the relationship, was because it was kept private.
Yeah.
This was like obviously a big change from like past relationships that had been very public,
Mm-hmm.
to the point that some people feel that they were just for publicity. Uh, but like this relationship was super private, and he's no shade to him, although we are definitely going to be shading him later. But like he was really completely unknown before Taylor started dating him. Like I
Yeah.
had never heard of him. You know, people still don't really know who he is. His career just hasn't really gone anywhere.
So he's in the entertainment industry as well, right?
He is. He's an actor. His name is Joe Alwyn. He's British, and he used to date Taylor Swift, and that is really all I know about him.
Okay. Fair,
Um,
fair.
yeah. Well, and also he and Taylor have worked together. They've made music together. That I know
Mm-hmm.
that about him too. And you know, his pen name for some of the music has been William Bowery because it had some attachment to like his grandpa or something. I don't know, but like that's all I know. My point is all I know about this man is his attachment to Taylor Swift.
Yeah, is he from the UK?
Yep. Yeah.
Makes sense because I see a lot of European influence in the Midnight's album, which I love.
Totally. I think like Joe, that's his name. Joe, I said that. Joe Elwyn. You know, I think Joe had a lot of influence on Taylor's music in a lot of positive ways. I like not just lyrically, but I think like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it gave you know, European music is different than American music. It just is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like you can really hear that influence like when she started dating him, which is cool. And like I like that that's a part of her discography.
Yeah.
Um, but anyway, let's get into the breakup.
Okay.
So the news of the two breaking up came out the day before Easter, which was April 8th. And I thought that was very strategic timing because there was no show for Easter weekend, which you know, it's a holiday weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so it felt like if this news was to come out, you know, it gives the public like a full week to digest it and kind of just be like, whoa, because it is a big shock because a lot of people kind of wondered if these two would get married or if they didn't get married, they just kind of be life partners.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like, whoa, like, oh my gosh, you know, they've been together for 6 years. Wow. Um, and you know, there's always been rumors of and speculation on their relationship. So a lot of people didn't believe it at first. Like they were just like, no, it's just another rumor. But it became
Yeah.
clear pretty fast that it was legit. Cause like ET News was like reporting on it, People magazine, and then eventually CNN, like a day or two afterwards. And so it was pretty obvious that like this was true. But even with all of that, there was still people who were like, I'm not going to believe it until Taylor talks about it, which on one hand, like I get like it's nice to want to like hear from the person firsthand, but I think as fans we also have to understand that like who wants to make a public announcement after a breakup? Like it's weird.
Yeah, I think if she had announced the breakup before the tour started, that would have brought unnecessary attention to her relationship ending rather than the start of the tour.
Total. Well, and this, you know, this was announced in the middle of the tour, not in the middle, but like a few weeks after the tour started. And even, yeah, if she like posts even on her Instagram stories, being like, "Oh yeah, Joe and I have decided to break up," it's just yeah, it's weird, and it does detract from the tour.
Yeah, and it would be more of a disservice to the tour, like even from like a sales or marketing perspective, because then the headlines would have
Right.
been Taylor starts or Taylor kicks off her tour after announcing breakup. That would have just taken over and saturated the media in such an unnecessary way.
Yeah.
And Taylor being Taylor and being so hyper controlling of her image, which I commend. Um, I don't think she wants that in the media to be like the main theme or.
Yeah, especially when she's, you know, already had that attached to her in the past. And it's something that still is attached to her, even though her
Yeah.
and Joe were together for a long time. It's still like I saw people commenting when the breakup was announced, like, oh my gosh, she goes through guys so fast. And I'm like, what? Like they were together for 6 years. Like that like narrative was old a long time ago, but it's really outdated now. But definitely, like I mean, that is what is in people's minds still. So yeah, I think
Yeah.
it definitely would have made no sense for her to like publicly announce this or comment on this on any level. It's weird, you know.
Yeah, it seems like any chance for people to slut shame, they'll take it, even if doesn't really apply. Not that it should, or not that, we're okay with that sort of thing, but she's been with him for a long time, and yet they still manage to find a way to insert that um, take on Taylor.
So yeah, a lot of people, didn't really want to believe it. I think there was some level of denial or not wanting to believe it,
Yeah.
but it seems now like the whole fan base has accepted it as truth at this point, even though Taylor hasn't officially commented on it.
Yeah, and I don't
Um,
think she ever will,
no, and she never has.
unless it's an album.
Right. I mean, like that's how she comments on her life is through music. She says she thinks
Mm-hmm.
it sounds better. She's never like announced a breakup before. That's always just been the press that's done that. And I think there's a level of discernment too.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know the media can get carried away, and I know even the outlets mentioned, like ET and People and CNN, like they've definitely reported falsely on Taylor in the past. Like I get that, but when like all of these channels are saying the same thing
Mm-hmm.
and like no one is correcting it, and People does also have a huge reputation of being connected to celebrities in some way
Yeah.
or having very like credible sources. um Not saying that always those sources are on the celebrity side, but they're not getting strangers making comments or
Yeah.
or a friend of a friend. Like the sources are vetted on some level.
Mm-hmm.
um like that it's just kind of like, look, it's true with this, like let's, because then it's just like weird, like I'm gonna wait till Taylor says something, like just kind of putting this unnecessary pressure on her. But
Yeah.
in any event, you and I believed it right away for
Yeah.
several reasons.
Yeah, definitely. I was very surprised when I noticed the Taylor fandom, which I'm not a part of, but like sometimes I would stumble upon tweets here and there, or you would talk to me about it. I was very surprised that they kind of questioned the news in the beginning. But yeah, we believed it right away because we had our own observations.
Yeah, we just felt that, like, you know, okay, I think the Eras Tour performances have been really good. I've enjoyed them, but there just seemed something a little different than past tours.
Mm-hmm.
The energy seemed a little just not, I don't even know the wording for it, but just something seemed a little off. Something just seemed, I guess just it just seemed a little off.
Yeah, she seemed a little somber and not in a intentional way to add like a dramatic effect to a song she's performing.
Right.
She did well like from a technical standpoint, but I don't know, something about her eyes was just telling a different story.
You did not just say that.
That's literally how I felt
Something about her eyes.
when I saw literally like when I saw that close up one time you sent me, like I remember telling you right off the bat she looked really sad.
It's true. She did look sad in the eyes. She did. It looked, yeah. Her eyes were telling a different story.
That was genuine. I wasn't trying to hype it up for the podcast.
It is true that her
Yeah.
eyes did seem sad. Yeah, she seemed a little sad, a little understated in the first few weeks, and we were
Yeah.
just like weren't totally sure why. It seems like I've noted, because I've been watching every single show every single weekend. I watch it on the live streams. God bless the people who do live streams. Like
Oh my
seriously,
god.
they are unsung heroes.
The dedication.
Okay, it bothers me so much when people, if the comments are on, when people will like yell at the people doing the live streams. They'll be like, like, stop singing, or like hold the camera steady. And it's just like, oh my goodness, like this person is nice enough to live stream this during
Yeah.
their concert. This is their experience. They're sharing it with us. Like, oh, it just bothers me so much. Anyway, that's just a little side note.
Hmm.
I've been watching all the lives, all of the shows, and I've noticed since this news came out that the breakup, like, it's like out there in public, a lot of that has kind of lifted. Like it seems like she's like more relieved, or like having a little bit more fun with it, or like, as you say, that her eyes are now telling a
A
happier
different
story.
story. Yeah.
Yes. It looks like she's having more fun.
Yeah. You can say what you want about Taylor. And even though she uh, curates her image and really cares about that, I think she prefers to operate on a more authentic level. And
Definitely.
I think the breakup not being announced was weighing heavy on her, and that translated into some of the performances. But she seemed a little lighter after they got the announcement out of the way, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so that's the thing. Like there's this debate of when did they actually break up? Because it was announced the day before Easter, and in reports it's saying like, oh, they broke up a few weeks ago. But that kind of still makes it unclear. Like, did they break up before the tour started? Like shortly after it started? I don't know. Personally, I think they broke up before the tour started.
Yeah, I think so too. I think so too because they've been together for long enough for them to obviously don't handle their relationship like it's something casual. And I think that
Right.
it's probably been brewing for a while. And I think it only makes sense that they would break up right before the tour
Right.
starts.
Or like even if they weren't formally broken up, like they were on the rocks, like obviously it was off before the tour even started.
Yeah,
A 6-year relationship just doesn't end out of nowhere unless
unless
something major happened.
such as
Well, what would make you end a relationship like real suddenly? Like, oh, boom, Word on the street, girl.
is there cheatation going on? Oh god.
There's rumors of cheatation. So, do we want to get into the clues that Joe did something bad?
Yeah. A bunch of stuff happened that basically hint at that.
So, yeah, at first they said the breakup was like amicable and the two just grew apart. And, like I'm sure that's true on some level. But then, like a few days later, it started kind of trickling into like Joe couldn't handle Taylor's fame. He just like couldn't handle it, which kind of is, I also get, and that's been a thing forever. But nothing like major happened for a few days. But then things started happening. And it kind of started when Taylor went to dinner with Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. Which, side note, I love that Taylor and Blake are friends. They've been friends for a long time, and I'm really into that.
Right? I feel like she really handpicks her friends. It's so funny.
Wouldn't you if you could? Like you're like that girl's cool. I like her. I'm gonna just like text her and we can be friends.
Yeah, that's easier than organically developing a friendship, right?
Well, isn't that how you organically? You know what? I don't know how to make friends, so never mind. That's a whole other episode and something I don't even want to get into. So, congratulations for Taylor and Blake for knowing how to be friends with each other.
Yeah.
Enough that they went to dinner together. Taylor's the third wheel, right, with her and Blake's husband.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, Taylor, Blake, and Ryan Reynolds all go to dinner in New York City, and the next day, Ryan unfollows Joe, Taylor's ex.
Mm-hmm. There was some ish talking going on.
Well, it seems like it, right?
Yeah.
Because it literally was the day after the dinner. Like, not even like any attempt of like, let's wait a week and then do it then quietly to see if people won't notice. No, the next day. And it didn't stop there.
Mm-hmm.
Taylor's Taylor's brother unfollowed Joe,
Oh
and some
wow.
of her other her yeah, some of her other friends like Gigi Hadid and like, is it, I don't know how to say their name. The Haim sisters.
I think it's Heim. Yeah.
Yeah. They also all unfollowed Joe. So, why are all these people unfollowing him if it's just an amicable breakup where the two just grew apart?
Oh, that's just the PR statement. I think this definitely hints at him doing something bad. Not exclusively cheating. I think cheating would kind of be the result of him not feeling like he has the range to be with someone like Taylor, someone who's a woman who's more successful than him, and I think that's like a recurring theme in cishet relationships, especially. We saw that with Wendy Williams. same pattern of like a woman being more successful, more of the earner, busier, more famous, all markers of success in a capitalistic society. And, men have retained sort of like the exclusive right to be able to have that sort of achievement for such a long time that I feel like they've inherited this bias where they feel like they should always be the earners or the providers. And I think in many ways I see how Taylor's success can make her ex-partner feel emasculated, just like Wendy's ex-husband felt, and he cheated as well, and he got someone pregnant, and that was a whole mess. So yeah, it checks out for me.
Yeah, definitely. It is a statistical reality that the more money a woman makes, the more likely she is to be cheated on. I don't make these rules or these stats. This is just how it works. Um, so just like that's just a reality. And that's for women who just like have like decent jobs, like in everyday life. Taylor is a multi millionaire, you know, if she exploits enough people, well on her way to be a billionaire. Um, so that like that if men are feeling threatened when a woman's just making like a low six figures, imagine how that shifts it even more with someone like Taylor. Um, but add this to the equation too. So the allegations are that he cheated with a co-star, and this co-star on her Instagram had like a thread of photos, like of just like I don't know, it was like things that happened in the spring or May or whatever. I don't know. I didn't look. I'm not that interested because I don't even really want to give this young woman that much attention because this isn't really about her. Um, but she had a photo of just like kind of a thread of different things on Instagram. And Joe was on a bike, just him. The photo was just of him. He was part of that thread of photos. So a lot of people are taking this kind
Yeah.
of as like a sign that, like, okay, there is something going on with the two.
Is Joe's co-star getting any backlash or any hate?
I haven't looked into that. I would imagine she is, but
Yeah.
I've noticed there seems to be more focus on Joe, because I think it's like a combination of like people don't fully know what's happened. And I do think there is some level of awareness of like, let's not go after this girl. And because like there's even a lot of Swifties who are saying to not go after Joe. Um, I don't think anyone should be like going after these people's personals or anything. I
Yeah.
do think it's fair game to kind of like trash
Side
talk
eye
them a little
him.
bit
Yeah.
though.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I saw somebody call Joe a British bag of flour.
I love that. That's so Azealia
And
Banks coded.
I love it. Like it's funny and someone was like that's so mean and I'm just like, look, it's fair game. But like harassing Joe's socials or like people who's worked with him and stuff, nah, don't do that. But like we want to call him a British bag of flour. That's funny.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad no one is coming for his co-star because that would just be unfair.
I mean, maybe people are. I don't know, but I'm not noticing it as a
Yeah.
overwhelming thing.
It wouldn't
I'm
be
not like
fair.
deep in the Swifty fan base. No, it wouldn't be fair, and I don't think that people even know for sure is part of it.
Yeah.
But I do know people definitely got a whole found her Instagram and saw that noticed that photo of Joe. So
Yeah, because usually, the onus is always on the other woman or whatever, and I don't think that's right.
totally, totally, always.
So we have that photo with the co-star as sort of like a real life clue. Um, but you, Ryan, noticed you've been watching the tour, like you said, all of it every night. Um, honestly, admire the dedication. Um, you noticed
It's an
some.
obsession. Don't admire it.
Listen, I did this with like the circus tour. I remember every single show I was like watching everything. And back then we didn't have like Insta streaming or Insta Live or whatever. So we had to wait for someone to upload them on YouTube. Anyway, so you've
Oh,
noticed
love
a
it.
few Easter eggs from within the tour, from conceptually, visually, maybe lyrically. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the reason of why I think this breakup happened earlier. Because this stuff has been in the tour even before the breakup was announced. There's just like a few Easter eggs that I feel that like also kind of confirm that he cheated. Um, okay, so there's like the really obvious one of the Lover house burning down between the Lover and the Fearless eras. And I think a lot of people noticed that, and a lot of people just interpreted that as like, okay, we're like burning down the Lover house to like make room for more music. It's a new era, whatever. And I think like that still can be part of it, and like maybe that's part of that transition. Um, but that's not the only part where the Lover house burns down. And it's the second part that had me really kind of intrigued or just being like, what's that about? That second part is in the 1989 era. The Lover house emerges again and is burnt like completely to the ground. Like it like fully is in flames and falls to the ground.
Oh
This
wow.
starts, yeah, this starts when Taylor starts singing Wildest Dreams. It shows Taylor in a bed, alone, with flames kind of going around the bed. And this is again to Wildest Dreams,
Ugh, the
which,
drama.
if you remember the music video for
Hmm.
Wildest Dreams, that featured two co stars having an affair on set.
I'm convinced Taylor has like a seer on call.
Well, you know she's into astrology, that's for sure.
Love it.
Anyway, that it goes from Wildest Dreams and it turns into a mashup of Bad Blood, and so that's when it switches from like the bed being burning to like fully the Lover house burning. And I think with
Hmm.
the song Bad Blood, there's the obviousness of like bad. Now we've got bad blood. Like there's
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
but add in the layer that Bad Blood is widely known in the fandom as the song that Joe first heard on the radio when he was visiting Taylor for the first time. Like the first Taylor song he heard on the radio
Like
on the
in the
way to visit her.
taxi on the way.
Yeah, we know this because in the song Invisible Strings, there's a lyric saying, "Bad was the blood of the song in the cab on your first trip to LA."
Oh my god.
So listen, I feel ridiculous saying all of this, but like it's just like this is part of the lore, right?
Yeah, the Taylor lore into it.
Yes, part of the Taylor lore. So for her to have the Lover house, which, it's thought of that lovers, Joe's the lover, that fully burning to it falls to the ground
Hmm.
while Bad Blood is playing, after we've already shown the house burning, it's just kind of like, why are we bringing it back again? Why is it here in the middle of the 1989 era? I definitely think it's because he was cheating and it's totally a diss to him. I think it's a thing, right? Because
Yeah.
it just kind of like, I don't know else why you would have it there.
Yeah, she's a good storyteller, so she would be able to sort of see these parallels and tie them in like a narrative driven way, you know?
Yeah, whether all these things in the tour are nods to Joe, because like I don't want to act like she would do all of the tour around Joe, but I do think like he was a major part of her life, and it's not a reach to think that she would have some, like
Yeah.
commentary on it, especially through her art. That's just what she's always done.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know, but maybe it's not. Maybe it has nothing to do with him. Um, I do think that there is bad blood between the two for sure, and I don't think it's as simple as Joe wanting a normal life. I
Hmm.
think there's subtext to that normal life. I think part of normal, um, it just never was going to align with the trajectory of Taylor's career, which
Hmm.
frankly I think Joe maybe thought had already peaked.
Yeah, which isn't the case.
No,
Yeah.
like Taylor might be peaking now or is going to peak in the next few years. I'm not trying to put a cap on her. I'm just kind of, that's what it seems like more.
Hmm.
Um and I feel like so much of the beginning of their relationship started of like her kind of like feeling like she was in exile from the public, and like,
Yeah.
and so it just felt like this huge, and there was so much privacy in the beginning of their relationship for so
Yeah.
long. Like she literally just was taking a break for a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and then she did Reputation, and then like she did Lover, but then the pandemic hit. So like the majority of their relationship has been with Taylor not going and doing her normal thing.
Yeah.
And I think she's kind of been getting into that again for the last few years, or like itching for that again.
Yeah.
And I think Joe wasn't as supportive of a partner as she knew she was going to need in order to keep doing that. Like I think he was good for the time he was there, but like now Taylor's like ready to go get back in it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I I wouldn't say I feel like Joe maybe wanted a normal life. I think he wanted a normative life, which most men want. I think normal, quote unquote, for him probably means um, that he would be the one in charge. He would be the one who has the upper hand, and that's just never going to happen in a dynamic with Taylor Swift,
Never.
with someone like Taylor Swift. You know, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, did Joe realize he couldn't have a heteronormative relationship
Yeah, basically,
with her?
basically, and it's just so backwards. Like we have good examples of men who don't really care about this stuff, and it doesn't really affect their perceived or imagined masculinity, because that's like a construct or whatever. Sam Asghari, for example, like he knows his place, he knows what Britney's capable
Mm-hmm.
of, he knows her position in society and around the world and her fame. He knows he's never like gonna measure up ever, no matter what, and he knows that, and he accepts it, and he's cool with it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like he gets it. Like she's the one who has the money, and that's that, and he's comfortable with it. I think it's sad that there's a lot of guys who really aren't comfortable with it at all, and I just think it's such a loser thing to do. Like I've had guys in my life that I know that like have broken up with women literally because the women make more than them. And like
Yeah.
I am no longer friends with these people anymore because like
Good, good.
just like
We don't want to
it's
enable
a
that
loser thing
behavior.
to do.
Yeah,
No, I
yeah,
don't want to be friends with a loser. Like that is a loser thing to do. Like
yeah,
it's just ridiculous. And which side note, Taylor at one of her shows recently, um, during the Look What You Made Me Do performance, where she like has all the different Taylors, like the old versions of herself in different costumes,
yeah.
she gave like the L, like the loser L you make,
Mm-hmm.
to the lover Taylor. Basically, I think Joe's uncomfortable that Taylor is the man of the house.
Which house?
Well, that's a good question because that leads to another reason why we think the two broke up. We think Taylor is plotting a residency.
Mm-hmm. I I really think this is in her trajectory, like in the near future. Just like because I've been to a lot of Vegas shows, obviously mostly Britney, because I'm a Britney fan, and I've seen the rollout for that and the way the set list was constructed, and the Eras tour, just like the formula of it, gives off a residency vibe. Um, Now, granted, I have my opinions on the construction of the set list. I don't really feel like it's as cohesive as it could have been. I believe Taylor is a great storyteller, and I don't think she utilized that skill for this show, which just validates what I feel about it being potentially a residency, because it just comes off like a greatest hits tour, um, even though we don't feel like she gave all of her songs justice with the set list, but I'm sure there's reasons for that.
Yeah, definitely the discography or the set list seems similar to a residency if you're wanting to showcase a lot of your work.
Yeah, and Taylor being Taylor, I don't think she would do like your regular formulaic Vegas residency of some sort. I think she would probably want to have her own twist to it just so that it can be one of a kind. Um, and I think that's like, a career milestone. It would be a career milestone for her. So I see that potentially being just like an added layer of um, Joe feeling like maybe he can't, you know, be be in this relationship.
Yeah, I mean, if you think you've settled down with a pop star who's already hit their peak, and actually now they're peaking and still going like higher than ever, and like, ooh, there's talks of a residency in the future, that's just like signing up for another few years of high publicity, high go going, time apart, not being
Yeah.
in together, and like, I mean, Taylor and Joe started their relationship in their mid 20s and now they're in their early 30s. And these are different phases of life.
Oh yeah. A lot
Um,
changes in that time.
totally. Totally. So, like, if you're not fully committed and your partner's thinking about a residency, for sure you're going to get out. You're gonna.
Yeah.
Or if you're a dirty cheater, but we're
Mm-hmm.
covering all possibilities here. If Taylor did a residency, it would be huge. I think it
Yeah.
would actually be the biggest residency of all time.
Oh, 100%. I fully agree. I mean, this entire Eras tour situation, including her previous tours, have proven to us that a lot of people are willing to pay the money to see her. A lot of people are willing to travel, take long trips, multiple flights just to see her. So, if you have that guaranteed and then you make it easier, like being in a residency, centralized in one place where everyone can conveniently come and stay close to the area, and I think it would be a huge success.
Totally. Add in that people feel comfortable bringing their children to Taylor Swift concerts.
And that's true. That's true. That's a whole other segment of a buyer.
Hmm. That not every musician has to offer. Like, you're not going to bring your kid to just any concert,
No.
and definitely not any Vegas residency.
Yeah. I recently, I mean, this is not fully related, but it's just an observation. I recently watched the new Super Mario movie, and it's breaking records. It's like the most successful animation of all time. Like it beat the Frozen record.
Hmm.
And I've noticed that a lot of adults, young adults, teenagers, and kids, like all segments of society, just love that movie, and it works for everyone. It's referential, it's nostalgic, but it's also fresh. Like it embodies everything. So I think Taylor's Taylor as a product, I think, is similar. I think it's something that targets a lot of different segments, which is guaranteed success.
Yeah, it's a huge age range of basically the younger age range, although you're getting to even to some of the older age ranges, but still in the younger half of
Yeah.
consumers. You can basically advertise a Taylor Swift concert from anyone who's age 5 to 45. That's a big range. And then add in that some of those people who are in, like, their 30s or 40s are bringing their children. So then you've got like double the consumer there, and it's a whole family affair, which is great for Vegas. And if you're trying to sell, like, to make it a more family friendly vibe and
Yeah.
whatnot, um, Vegas is boring right now. It's been boring since Britney left.
It literally only became fun during the time Britney was there.
No, Britney completely revived Vegas. Like, no, Vegas was like boring. It seemed like only old people went there. Like, Britney
Hmm.
made Vegas fun and young again.
Yeah, there's no main pop girly in Vegas right now, um, in Britney's caliber.
No, the only person who could compare would be Taylor.
Yeah.
I know a lot of Britney fans don't want to hear that, but like, it's true. Like,
No, it's true.
Taylor
It's
could pull the
true.
numbers.
We're not even sure it'll be in Vegas. And
Yeah, we're just assuming that because that's like where most residencies are.
yeah, that's the standard. And from my understanding, Taylor does everything but the standard. So I would totally see her exploring different ways of doing the residency. possibly in different parts of the US, you know?
So yeah, we don't know if Taylor's doing a residency or if she was doing a residency, where she would do it. Um, but if you're searching for clues, which you know I am, I'm wondering if she left one in her tour.
Ooh.
Ooh, indeed. So I think in her set of Mastermind, when she sings that song, which love that song, on the stage when she's singing Mastermind, she is on like a chessboard, like it's checkered, like, a
Mm-hmm.
checkered chessboard. In the center of that board, there is a circle, spherish shape. It's kind of made to look three-dimensional by the way different ways the board moves.
Yeah.
So it's a circle shape. So I was wondering, why does Taylor have this circle sphere shape in the middle of this chessboard? What's up with that? And then I remembered Melanie, MX underscore defying, had mentioned that there is a giant venue being finished in Vegas, and it is called the Sphere.
Oh my God. Yeah.
It's scheduled to open in September of 2023.
Imagine if it turns out to be like Taylor's venue, kind of like the way ABBA basically built a whole venue in the UK in London.
The CGI
The
or
CGI, yeah, the
the
CGI concert or whatever.
yeah.
Like they built their own arena for it. Now, granted, that like requires certain machinery or whatever, but I would just love if Taylor had her own venue, just like her own, just for her. That would be amazing.
Right now, U2 is scheduled to kind of be like the big headliner of the Sphere. But I don't think they have like a huge headliner that's young lined up yet. Maybe they do, but I mean, Taylor Swift is really like the biggest you can get. The thing about the Sphere too is it's MSG Sphere, so it's part of the Madison Square Garden. And I'm not
Mm,
sure if now this is more New York attachments
right.
and not totally with Vegas, although you can't get into Vegas unless you make sure you pass the Vegas test, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I'm wondering if that adds a layer of it because we know Taylor has a ton of New York connections. So, with the Sphere being part of Madison Square Garden, I'm wondering if maybe that has anything to play in it. Total speculation, just an observation.
Yeah.
It's funny that you brought up ABBA building a whole venue though in London, because with this Madison Square Garden Sphere in Vegas, there's also talks of them building another one in London.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
There's been a lot of controversy. There's been delay because like a lot of people are like, we already have enough venues and you don't need to do this. Apparently, it's supposed to be on like the grounds of like where the Olympics were held,
Mm-hmm.
from what I understand. I don't know if it's going to go through, but that's a detail of it too, and it makes me wonder: was this part of maybe a plan of like there would be the Sphere in London, and then Taylor could have done a residency in Vegas and London if she had still been dating Joe? It would have been iconic. Anyway, that relationship is over, and who knows what's going on with the Spheres.
Yeah, I think honestly, a residency, a Taylor Swift residency would be perfect because, well, first of all, Justice for Midnights. I really wanted like
For
a
real.
good bulk of the set list to be dedicated to that album. And I just like a residency if she really like puts in her love for storytelling into the set list. I think could be something really fun. You and I have been craving to see some sort of like a theme of a clock or time travel between eras, or creating some sort of like imaginary Taylor Swift multiverse where all these different eras exist in a parallel. I don't know, something like that. There's so much to do with the theme of the clock, and apparently that's been like a recurring theme in Taylor's music. You've mentioned once.
Yeah, definitely. I thought for sure with this Eras tour she was going to have some giant clock just because she had suggested that with like the Bejeweled music video and then the
Yeah.
Mastermind lyric video. And I thought that would just be kind of a very natural way of showing the change of eras.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe she's saving it for a more intimate venue because I mean that would be really expensive to build and transfer and everything. I mean we and like we never saw anything super big like the tree that Brittany jumped from in Toxic until
Yeah.
she had the residency. Like when you have a residency, you
Yeah.
can put so much more money into some of these props because you don't have to build them to be transported and moved.
Yeah, I saw Britney in Vegas and then I saw her again in London when she took the same show on tour, and they left a lot of the props back in Vegas. Like they had to improvise with whatever they had, like a lot of the big props they didn't take.
Yeah, I know it's hard to transfer them. You would think that they would have everything set to like transfer this stuff as safe as possible and everything would be so smooth, but like it's not. Tours are so surprisingly still like so such a slack job. It's unreal. Um I
Yeah.
toured with Kid Rock for 6 weeks, and so I was on. Don't I don't even want to get started on that, but like it was eye opening to just see how chaotic it is, really.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like a lot of if you're traveling with large items like that, a lot of delays can happen, especially if it's long distances or abroad. I mean, Eras Tour is exclusive to the US, but I'm saying in general, like a
So
lot of
far,
delays can
yeah.
happen from customs. A lot of delays can, like, accidents can
Mm-hmm.
happen, stuff like that. Yeah, like it's just too much, I think, for a tour. And you know, that being said, I still feel like the Eras Tour has a little too much reliance on backdrop, too much for my liking anyway. Um, from my understanding, the way the seats were planned out, you don't get to see every part of every screen. So some of the effects, for example, that are dedicated to the floor screen, people that are seated can't see them. And I would have appreciated a more elaborative prop set so that, people who can't see the bottom screen
Mm-hmm.
or the floor screen can at least enjoy some other visual aspects of the show, you know?
It seems the stage is super high. It's so high that a lot of people in the first few rows are really having a hard time seeing anything. So yeah, it would be interesting to see how this tour could be translated in a more intimate setting. Like right now, it's just trying to do these giant stadiums so as many people as possible can see. It would be so interesting to have and fun to kind of have it be downsized and like people can routinely see her.
Yeah.
And I think this tour is a great way to kind of test what is the crowd responding to the most,
Mm-hmm.
what works the best, what's Taylor feeling, what's it's honestly, if you're wanting to do a residency, doing a tour that covers your body of work prior
Yeah.
is a perfect way to iron things out and get things perfected the way you want it. And Taylor is a perfectionist.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, Taylor is a perfectionist, and she seems really high energy, especially after announcing the breakup. She seems like she's enjoying the show and she's loving it, and I think that's important. And, you know, we're still in a pandemic, and, I've worried a little about Taylor getting sick, because I noticed that a lot of the audience members left the show, and like 2 or 3 days later they had a positive COVID test, and some of them, rightfully so, were urging Taylor fans to wear masks and whatnot, and just to like have an enjoyable experience that's also safe. We know Taylor's mother is can get really sick if she had COVID. Yeah, and her team is fully masked, and it just kind of, it makes me sad because I'm quite COVID conscious, and if I were to go to a concert, I would really like if everyone was, and everyone was masked and whatnot. Like I'm seeing a lot of K-pop concerts, they still adhere to COVID regulations. They still um, get tested. They have their masks on, good quality masks. There's amazing filtration system. All of these precautions, very simple precautions that I think venues can afford, quite frankly, can be taken, like open roofs and whatnot. But they're not doing that. And I wish someone on Taylor Swift's level of fame would maybe use her platform to advocate for masking, you know?
Yeah, it is disappointing that Taylor hasn't mentioned anything. In the very least, I wish that she would sell like a cute N95. Like that honestly would be such a way to one, make even more money,
Yeah,
two, satisfy a portion of the market that is there. There are
yeah,
people who are still wearing masks. There's still people who are forced to care about this. You and I both being some of those people, we don't have a choice to just act like COVID's over. We have to acknowledge it as a reality. And I wish that, like you said, Taylor's team is wearing masks. And so there is a level of awareness of like COVID is still a thing. Like they are aware COVID is still a thing. And yet
yeah,
we're just having these super spreaders. We're not even saying anything. We're not, like not even selling a cute N95. Like it just, I don't know, it bothers me. And I'm wondering what is Taylor doing to make sure she doesn't get COVID? Because other celebrities and other singers are dropping like flies. Tours are
yeah,
getting canceled left and right.
yeah. I've never seen anything like that. Like, it's happening quite a lot. So many artists are canceling. I think Sam Smith canceled, Harry Styles, Justin Bieber, all these big names are canceling their tours, and it's always due to some illness or some flu. And it's like, let's be real, this is either COVID or long COVID, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, I feel like if she had masks as part of her merch, she'd get a lot of backlash from the average identitarian, Republican, American, like I think her team knows that a lot of her fan base could be part of that segment and they don't want to piss anyone off, which bothers me. I feel like, and at what cost, you know what I mean? Like sometimes you just need to do the right thing, and even if it pisses people off, whatever, you know?
I'm just wanting someone to sell cute N95s. Like, honestly.
Yeah, truly.
Yeah. Yeah, it just bothers me. And it does bother me too that in the Evermore era, kind of while she's at the piano, she's like, talking to the fans while softly playing. And she's kind of mentioning about how she's missed everyone for so long. And she was really afraid that like live music would end as we know it. And she wouldn't get to see everyone. And like, she refers to the pandemic in the past tense a lot. And it just rubs me the wrong way,
Yeah,
especially because like it's not over, it's just not. And like meanwhile her team is still wearing masks. Like, Taylor, it's not over. We don't need this whole segment of you saying that. Just say, while we were in lockdown, or while live music wasn't allowed, or I don't know,
mm-hmm.
that's not really eloquent, but like quit acting like the pandemic is over. Acknowledge the break and how it was hard for you, but let's not act like it's over, especially when we are still having thousands of people die every single week in the United States.
Yeah,
People want to act like that's not a thing still, but it is. And I just refuse to be part of normalizing that. It's not normal for that many people to drop dead from a virus that, honestly, if we did minimal intervention for, minimal giving a crap about other people,
yeah,
we'd be in a much better place. These concerts would be much safer. There are ways to make concerts much safer than they are, and I guess it's just not happening. And I am disappointed that someone of Taylor's influence is contributing to this idea that it's over. Everybody have fun,
yeah.
because you can't have fun and also care about other people, right?
Yeah, it's very dismissive of disability rights, honestly. That's what it trickles down to me.
Yeah, and Taylor honestly has a lot of disabled fans. I mean, like every artist has a lot of disabled fans, but it seems like there's kind of this even more disabled people who are huge fans of Taylor Swift. And Yeah, it's just another layer of completely dismissing it all and making it so much riskier for everyone. And and to not, I also don't like that it's like not acknowledged that COVID has also contributed to making these concert experience so much worse. Of like, that's part of the reason why the tickets are so extra outrageous too.
Yeah, I definitely noticed that the way tickets sell and the prices have dramatically changed since COVID. Um, I think after like so long of not having concerts, there's higher demand, I guess, for it. And, we got presidents telling us the pandemic is over left and right and lying to us. So people's willingness to go and desperation is there. And I think, organizers are definitely taking advantage of that weak point, I think.
Yeah, it's like, and then adding in that so many of the artists are getting sick and not being able to like fully perform, it's like the supply is even less and the demand is even more.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's no surprise that a monopoly like Ticketmaster is taking full advantage of that. It's disgusting. That's all to say. Eras tour doing really well. I'm so excited for this revival of Taylor Swift, Single Taylor. I love that she's like connecting back with her friends and all that. Did you see the photo of Joe that the paparazzi
Yeah.
got of him?
Yeah.
He
Oh my
looked
God. He looks
haggard.
haggard. That picture was edited to make him look even more haggard, but he looks haggard. Like, you have to have something to work
Yeah,
with
I think
first,
it
you know?
definitely. Like, I do think it was touched a little bit to make him look a little worse, but he does not look good. I saw someone was like, it looks like Joe went through a divorce even though he was never married. Like, and
Yeah.
that's exactly how it was. Meanwhile, a photo of Taylor and her friends, it was just like effortlessly fun and breezy. And
Yeah. So I'm
but
so
uh
spontaneous. I'm just grabbing a snack with my friends.
but yeah, it would be awesome if Taylor did a residency. That would also be a way to keep it more COVID safe too. Like if she was in a one set location, she
Uh-huh.
could make sure like the state of the art ventilation system was put in everywhere. A lot of businesses are doing this. They're just not telling people. They're just quietly doing it, and which is great. I just wish people would be public about this. Of like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we've upgraded our ventilation so
Yeah.
it's extra safe for
Mm-hmm.
people who have allergies, we or like viruses and whatnot. Like, this should be part of something that people know. And But yeah, it would be awesome if Taylor had a residency and like had all that set up, and it would just be awesome if she had a residency in general.
Well, speaking of residencies, you know who has the connections to get a residency but could never?
Who?
Meghan Trainor.
Oh, you mean mother?
Oh God. Yeah,
That's
Mother
what she's trying
Trainor.
to get us to call her now.
She just co-opts everything. She's boring and she, her impact is non-existent and I can't. Anyway, she has a podcast now apparently and she had Trisha Paytas as a guest, um, which I loved. And Trisha
Love
Paytas, we
Trisha.
know, is a huge Britney fan, even though she said some things here and there that I think is just part of her trolling, which, whatever. But she's a Britney fan at heart, and she knows
Totally.
what to ask, and what buttons to push. I think, in my opinion, she basically asked Meghan Trainor on the spot, like about Britney, and that didn't seem like it was part of a script or anything like that. And Meghan Trainor got really flustered, and I couldn't really make out what she was saying because they kind of talked over each other in that moment. But she said something along the lines of, she can't discuss Britney.
You are so like, how are you so connected? I get like you're a superstar, but like Britney Spears, wait, what?
No.
Oh.
Just kidding.
I'm like, is that real?
No, I'm not
How
allowed
come
to say that anymore.
I've never. Okay.
They're like, stop doing that joke.
Oh. Okay.
And then she thought it would be a good idea to change the topic using this talking point. She basically mentioned her managers and how much she admires them and said the following.
No,
I'm like, is it real?
I have really good management. Like a lot of,
Oh.
everyone in our industry is like, I fucking hate my managers.
Yeah.
I have the best.
Oh.
And they were friends.
Phenomenal team.
They're
yeah,
like,
that makes.
And
they're
connected.
friends with the Kardashians. So I was like, do you think that we could ask Auntie Quiz if she would do it?
And she said it in like such a stuck up way, like, oh, they're friends with the Kardashians, like that is not a good look. That raises more suspicion towards you.
Yeah.
Obviously, like, especially bringing that up after Britney, like, what a slip up. Like, what a slip up. The fact that her mind went there after hearing Britney's name, it means that's at the forefront of her, just like her general day-to-day business conduct. Like, they probably talk about Britney. Like, that made me feel like when she's with Lou Taylor, they talk about Britney.
Right. For that to be like kind of the reflex of like to dodge a question about Britney and then
Yeah.
talk about how you love your management and name drop the Kardashians, which is such a loser thing to do.
Yeah, and so I basically looked at her album booklet to see who's credited as management. Lou Taylor's name wasn't there, but we know there are affiliations for sure. But it says Jeffrey Azoff, full stop management. And we've known for a while like the Azoff's involvement in Britney's conservatorship and whatnot. So for her to brag about her management right after she was asked about Britney and right after she rejected commenting on it, it's weird behavior.
She also thanked Shelly Azoff in that music video too. Like,
Oh,
got her own like frame of like special thanks to
Yeah.
I'm so sick of people in the music industry using these public moments to kiss butt of the Azoffs, like as if we're all supposed to just like know who the Azoffs are, like the general public. I mean, we should now. If you're a Britney fan,
Yeah.
you should.
Oh, at this point, yeah,
But,
at this
like-
point, yeah, we should. Yeah, it's just weird. I remember when Meghan Trainor had her song "No" come out. A lot of people were comparing her to Britney, stylistically. A lot of people, like, a lot of music producers mashed it up with "Overprotected" by Britney, and
Which song of Megan's?
No. It's called No. I'm not saying no to you.
Oh, it's called No.
Yeah.
See, I only know Meghan Trainor for like I know all about that bass. And Dear Future Husband, is that it?
Yeah. I know No because of that Overprotected remix, which I think was atrocious to even get the idea of doing.
I don't know. No,
It's
I feel
very
silly saying
like
it. I don't know. No.
Yeah. It's very like Y2K Britney pop. Like it's very that. Yeah, she had a lot of
Okay.
like very Britney-esque lyrics and choreo in the video, and I could just imagine Lou Taylor telling Meghan Trainor, "Oh, you're gonna be the next Britney Spears," and this was the outcome. And I think they realized that could never happen, obviously. But yeah, it's weird. Like these losers, they're either trying to mimic, the quote unquote Britney formula, or are trying to be like the anti Britney. It's either this or the other. It's just
Either way, it's still totally centered on Britney.
yeah.
And it's like they still haven't learned this lesson quite of that you can't manufacture the it factor. Like you
Yeah.
can manufacture a lot. You can control a lot. You can have a lot of strategy. All of these things help, but none of them are a guarantee. And that's always what they undermine Britney with. Like they always undermine that, the je ne sais quoi factor of Britney. To not even like I feel it's silly to even bring that factor in right now because like when you're comparing Britney to Meghan Trainor, this isn't even a comparison.
Yeah.
But
It kind of reminded me of when they casted Amy Schumer as Barbie.
listen, I have nothing nice to say about that. So I guess I'll just say I'm really, really happy that Margot Robbie was cast instead. And I'm super happy that Ryan Gosling is Ken. I know a lot of people are like dragging that casting, but I think it's perfect.
Yeah, I think it's good, and I love Margot Robbie, and I think she's even though Amy Schumer is a comedian, I think Margot Robbie is funnier, and that's why I think she suits the role of Barbie better.
Yeah, no, it's that she just is not the character, like the essence of Barbie. And yeah, like Margot Robbie is funnier, like way funnier.
So basically, that happened, and she also, said some things about teachers, and then she had to do like an apology video, and she's just basically getting a lot of backlash about that podcast, and specifically for the teachers comment and the Britney comment. And I'm just waiting. Like, honestly, this happened during Eid, and I was just, or like around Eid time, and I was just like, it would be the perfect Eid gift if Britney just went off on Instagram and dragged Meghan Trainor. But who knows? Maybe she's saving that for the book, which, we're still waiting for.
Maybe Meghan Trainor isn't important enough to hate. Not to quote Lisa Vanderpump, but
Yeah.
Anyway, Meghan Trainor's a loser and she will never have a residency because no one wants to see her. We don't even know her songs. But Taylor should definitely have a residency, and I'm glad that she dumped that British bag of flour.
Same. She's better off. I'm here for the Gaylor era, but that's for another conversation.
Look, people think they're open-minded, but then you start talking about Gaylor content and whew. So I think that's a good cue for us to end this.
In our podcast, they're going to have to deal. But yes, indeed. Until next time.
Bye.
Do I like Taylor Swift? Well, I think Blondie is pretty much up my alley. And I just heard that she's broken up with Joe Alwyn. So lots of love to you. I'm always here if you need me.